Okay, check it out, man. You are currently looking at $1,800 worth of Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer gear. You might be wondering why or how I did that. Well, it's because everything I bought from Mountain Hardwear was on sale, and I actually got $600 worth of credit recently at Mountain Hardwear. So I sent them a Hyperlamina Spark sleeping bag, which was totaled. They gave me $250 worth of credit, even though I only paid $140 for it. I sent them a Ghost Whisperer jacket that was totaled, and I only paid $200 for it, but they gave me $350 credit plus that jacket back. So I got two Ghost Whisperer jackets, one in purple for 180 bucks. The other one I got $350 credit for, even though they let me keep it. And that one I originally purchased for $200. And then I also got the Ghost Whisperer 20 bag for like 280 bucks or something. It's normally 600. And I've also got the Ghost Whisperer 40 bag, which is my go-to summer bag, which I got for about 420. And that left me with 80 bucks left. And if you're not familiar with Mountain Hardwear, they are based out of Oakland. They're from a part of Oakland called Richmond. It's actually kind of like a town next to Oakland, but they support the Golden State Warriors, the Oakland Warriors. And this is Warriors Blue. They do make a Warriors Blue technical t-shirt, which I'm wearing right now. I'm gonna wear it to the Warriors basketball game at Oracle Arena. So I'm gonna just go over the whole story, how it all went down, what I think of the Ghost Whisperer products, etc. Explain as much as I can about it. But yeah, it's like 1,800 bucks worth of stuff. I originally paid, let's see, 400, 140, that's 540, plus 200. So I paid 740. So I made $1,000. I spent 740 bucks and ended up with $1,800 worth of stuff. So, booyah! Check it out. So right away, let's talk about the Ghost Whisperer jacket. This is kind of like the popular go-to for everybody. It's lightweight and packable. That's basically what you get. It's got water-resistant down. So you've got, once it starts to rain, especially with the DWR in the jacket, you've got anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes before you need to set up your shelter or even take out your raincoat, because the jacket does a pretty good job of shedding rain. The down does stay warm and lofty even during the rain for about 30 minutes. It will get cold eventually though. The jacket can get saturated with the rain and get cold. Bottom line, I would say size up. My big message to everybody about the Ghost Whisperer is to size up. If you wore your clothes baggy in high school, if you usually wore an extra large in high school, you want to size up in Ghost Whisperer. I had the large, or I still have it, and it was just too sweaty. It's a hot jacket. I sweat super easily, especially in the arms. My arms were always wet. I was just soaking wet. My technical t-shirt was always wet when I wore the jacket. And as far as getting an extra large, I don't notice the size difference at all. The extra large fits a lot better than the large. It's just slightly baggy. I mean, I barely notice it being extra large in any way. It fits perfect. you know, for me, I think that a nice warm pocket of air inside the jacket keeps me dry, especially in the arms. If there's a little bit of space in the arms, a warm pocket of dry air develops, and that prevents some of the sweat from transferring from your arm onto the fabric, onto the nylon liner, preventing the jacket from getting wet. And I just think that the extra large is more functional than the large bottom line. Okay, so now let's jump ahead a second and talk about the Ghost Whisperer sleeping bag. Yeah, I chose the Ghost Whisperer sleeping bag over the Enlightened Equipment quilt. My history with sleeping bags is that most of my history with sleeping bags is with synthetic polyester quilts and sleeping bags. I started out making my own quilts from thruhiker.com, and I just kind of started to think that the mummy was a better idea. You know, I don't carry an insulated air pad. I carry just an inflatable uninsulated air pad because it takes up a lot less space in my pack. And I like air pads that have deep baffles so that the down from my mummy can exfoliate, can loft up into those baffles. And that allows your mummy to be the insulation in your air pad. So, you know, air pads that are insulated, they fit really big into your pack. So the whole entire concept of saving space in your pack with a quilt is kind of crazy because you're just putting a bigger air pad into the pack instead of a mummy. Sleeping bags are one of the oldest pieces of kit in the history of camping, and I can't believe that just ditching all those years of research would be a good idea. I just go with the mummy. For me, I just stick with the mummy. I would say that the nylon on Mountain Hardwear's gear is more interesting and more breathable and more innovative and more custom than what you get from Enlightened Equipment. I'm not trying to be a troll, I'm not trying to be an internet troll and talk about Enlightened Equipment when I should be talking about Mountain Hardwear, but Mountain Hardwear sells an interesting product. The nylon is good. I like the mummy. I like having a 7-foot bag. Other companies like Western Mountaineering, they only sell a 6-foot, 6.5-foot bag, and it's also like $200 or $300 more. So with Mountain Hardwear, you get, with the Ghost Whisperer series, you get 950 fill, which I think is important, and it's hydrophobic down. You know, the down that's in these Ghost Whisperer products, it's coated with a little bit of plastic, and that prevents the down from absorbing moisture, mostly from your condensation. Your body has moisture in it, the dirt underneath your sleeping pad has moisture in it, and that moisture can gather inside of your sleeping bag. So if you sleep in a quilt without a tarp, the quilt will turn into the tarp, and the quilt will get wet with condensation instead of the tarp. So you can't really cowboy camp in the quilt without the tarp. Ghost Whisperer has addressed that, and you can cowboy camp in these Ghost Whisperer sleeping bags because the down doesn't absorb moisture. So the moisture kind of gets lost in the down, and it's kind of in there on the plastic. But as you keep the sleeping bag warm from your body heat, that moisture that collects in the down, in that plastic coated down, it turns into fog and it lifts up off the bag. So the bag is getting dried out just like a well ventilated tarp. Negative 20. What caused all of this was my go-to, my 40 bag failed. And so I washed it, and I threw it in the dryer, and I shrunk it a little. Basically, if you throw your gear into the dryer on high, it can shrink the threads, and that drastically reduces the real estate inside of your gear so that your sleeping bag is like more narrow than it used to be and not as comfortable. So I took the Ghost Whisperer 40 out for an overnighter, and there was a cold snap, and I froze in it, and I was really disappointed. It like wasn't warm at all, and it was because the down got kind of clumpy in the middle, and there were huge cold spots along the seams, along the threading, because I kind of shrank the threading, and I just didn't do enough due diligence to make sure that the down was lofted up enough to go camping before I took it out, and it just wasn't warm enough to use, and it was just too cold. The Ghost Whisperer down is coated with plastic. It is chemically treated. It's hypoallergenic. It's bleached, and so you got to throw something in there like a tennis shoe or some tennis balls. I actually threw some oranges in the dryer with my with my Ghost Whisperer sleeping bag, and it lofted it up really, really good, like new, like probably better than when I bought it. But the oranges exploded and spread orange juice all over the sleeping bag and the inside of my dryer, and I had to wipe out the whole inside of the dryer with water and wash the Ghost Whisperer 40 all over again. I used to buy through hiker.com Apex quilt kits. I would sew together my own Apex quilt and use it. I kind of ended up thinking that I wanted more. I wanted a mummy, so I found the Hyperlamina Spark polyester mummy, which is similar to an Apex quilt, but the Q insulation that they use at Mountain Hardwear, it absorbs water, so it really isn't like Apex. It is awesome, and it's hypoallergenic and super easy to sleep in, and it works awesome, but it can't get wet. It doesn't need, you can cowboy camp in it, you don't need a shelter, but you can't use it in the rain like Apex. So I ditched it. I wore it out, and then I eventually ditched it, and I switched to the Ghost Whisperer 40. I was super happy with it, but I eventually kind of started to destroy it. I sent it in for credit, and Mountain Hardwear said, we're not going to give you credit, it's fine, you just need to throw some tennis balls in the dryer with it and just deal with it. But I ended up getting a ton of stuff at the same time.